Maya Blackwood had always been the black sheep of the Blackwood family, literally. Her olive skin and dark hair stood out like a sore thumb against the pale, platinum-blonde clan that had raised her in their Connecticut mansion. But when her grandfather, Harold Blackwood, died and left her $50 million in his will, she finally felt like she truly belonged. Until she read the strange clause buried in the legal documents. To claim your inheritance, Maya, you must prove your Blackwood bloodline through genetic testing within 90 days of my death. Should you fail to do so, the entire estate transfers to the Blackwood Family Trust. Maya stared at the lawyer, confused. Why would he doubt I'm a Blackwood? I've lived with this family for 22 years. The elderly attorney, Mr. Pemberton, shifted uncomfortably. I'm afraid I don't have answers, Miss Blackwood. I was simply instructed to deliver this message and provide you with these. He slid a package across the mahogany desk containing 4 DNA test kits. One for you, and one each for your parents and sister, as requested by your grandfather. As Maya walked out of the law firm, she noticed a black sedan that seemed to be following her. When she turned to look directly at it, the car quickly pulled away. Paranoid much? She thought, but the feeling of being watched lingered. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Fablethorn, where love, drama, and mystery come alive. Subscribe today and let the next chapter find you. Before we dive in, tell us where you're watching from. We love hearing your stories, too. That evening at the family dinner, she announced the strange inheritance requirement to her parents, Victoria and Charles Blackwood, and her sister Emma. Ridiculous! Victoria snapped, her wine glass trembling slightly in her manicured hand. Why would father doubt our family? This is insulting. Charles was quieter, but Maya noticed how his jaw tightened. Perhaps we should just get it over with. These tests are routine now. Emma, who had always been jealous of Maya's relationship with their grandfather, smirked. Maybe Grandpa Harold finally figured out what we all suspected. What's that supposed to mean? Maya demanded. Nothing, Emma said sweetly. Just that you've never looked like any of us. 3 days later, as Maya waited for the DNA results, she received a mysterious text from an unknown number. Don't take the test. Your life depends on it. Meet me at Riverside Cafe tomorrow at 3 p.m. Come alone. A friend. Maya's hands shook as she read the message. The black sedan, the cryptic inheritance clause, and now this warning. Something was very wrong. Against her better judgment, she went to the cafe the next day. A devastatingly handsome man with dark eyes and Mediterranean features approached her table. He looked to be in his late 20s, with the kind of dangerous charisma that made her pulse quicken despite the circumstances. Maya, he said, sliding into the seat across from her. His voice was rich and warm, with a slight accent she couldn't place. My name is Alessandro Reyes. I've been watching you for weeks, and I need to tell you something that's going to change everything you think you know about yourself. Are you stalking me? She asked, though she found herself mesmerized by the intensity in his dark eyes. I'm trying to save your life, he said, reaching across the table to gently touch her trembling hand. The contact sent electricity through her entire body. The Blackwoods aren't who you think they are, and that DNA test could get you killed. Maya tried to pull her hand away, but his touch was oddly comforting. That's ridiculous. They're my family. Alessandro's thumb traced small circles on her knuckles as he spoke. I know this is overwhelming. I've been trying to figure out how to approach you for months. Every time I saw you at the coffee shop near your work or walking through Central Park on Sundays, I wanted to tell you the truth, but I knew it would sound insane. You've been following me for months? Protecting you, Alessandro corrected softly. There have been 3 attempts on your life in the past 6 months that you don't even know about. A brake line that was tampered with. I had it fixed before you noticed. A gas leak in your apartment building that wasn't accidental. I called it in anonymously, Someone has been trying to eliminate you quietly, but I've been making sure those attempts failed. He pulled out a photograph and slid it across the table, never letting go of her hand. It showed a younger version of Maya with two people she didn't recognize, a beautiful Latina woman and a distinguished-looking man. "Those are your real parents," Alessandro said quietly. "Isabella and Diego Rodriguez. They were murdered 15 years ago, and the Blackwoods took you to hide the evidence." The cafe seemed to spin around Maya. She gripped Alessandro's hand tighter, anchoring herself to his warmth. "That's impossible. Your father, Diego, discovered something about Blackwood Industries, something worth killing for. The Blackwoods made their fortune through human trafficking, money laundering, and worse. Your father was an FBI agent who got too close to the truth." Alessandro leaned forward, pressing a gentle kiss to her knuckles. The gesture was so tender and unexpected that Maya felt tears spring to her eyes. "The DNA test isn't about an inheritance," he continued, his voice urgent. "It's to confirm you're Isabella Rodriguez's daughter. Because if you are, you're the only living witness to what really happened that night." That night, Maya couldn't sleep. Alessandro's words echoed in her mind, but more disturbing were the flashes of memory that seemed to be surfacing, fragments she had always dismissed as childhood nightmares, a woman's face screaming, gunshots, being carried through the darkness by strong arms, and Charles Blackwood's voice. "She won't remember. She's young enough." Maya sat up in bed, her heart racing. Those weren't nightmares. They were memories. She crept down to Charles's study and began searching through his files. Hidden behind law books, she found a folder labeled Project Clean Slate. Inside were documents about pharmaceutical memory suppression and receipts for monthly payments to Dr. Marcus Webb for ongoing treatment. The treatment dates matched perfectly with her monthly allergy shots. Maya's phone buzzed. Another text from Alessandro. "They know you're looking. Get out of the house. Now." As if on cue, she heard footsteps in the hallway, heavy, deliberate steps that stopped right outside the study door. Maya quickly photographed the documents and slipped out through the study's French doors onto the terrace. The footsteps had moved past, but she could hear muffled voices downstairs, too many voices for just her family. She climbed down the trellis she had used as a teenager to sneak out, her heart pounding. At the bottom, a hand grabbed her shoulder. "It's me," Alessandro whispered, materializing from the shadows. Even in the darkness, Maya felt an immediate sense of safety in his presence. "We need to go. They've hired professionals." As they ran toward his motorcycle parked at the edge of the property, Maya heard shouts from the house. Lights blazed on throughout the mansion. "Hold tight," Alessandro said as he helped her onto the motorcycle behind him. Maya wrapped her arms around his waist, feeling the solid warmth of his body against hers as they sped through the Connecticut countryside. "Who are you, really?" she called over the wind, her cheek pressed against his leather jacket. "Someone who's been looking for you for a very long time," Alessandro called back. "Your parents weren't just murdered. They were my parents, too." "You're my sister, Maya." The motorcycle skidded as Maya processed this revelation. "What?" Alessandro pulled over to the side of the dark road and turned to face her, his hands gently framing her face. "Half-sister," he clarified softly. "Same mother, different fathers. Isabella Rodriguez was my mother, too. I was 17 when they killed her. I've spent the last 8 years preparing for this moment." Maya stared into his eyes, searching for any sign of deception. All she saw was pain, determination, and something else that made her heart skip, a tenderness that seemed too intense for a brother looking at his sister. "I don't feel like your sister," she whispered without thinking. Alessandro's thumb traced her cheekbone. "You don't feel like my sister either," he admitted quietly. "And that's been driving me crazy since the day I first saw you." Alessandro brought Maya to an abandoned warehouse that served as headquarters for a group he called the Displaced, children who had been kidnapped by wealthy families and had their identities erased. "There are dozens of us," explained a young woman named Zoe, who had been taken from her family in Russia. "Rich families who want children but don't want the scrutiny of legal adoption. They have doctors who can suppress memories, forge documents, create entirely new identities." Maya noticed how Alessandro kept himself close to her, his hand often finding the small of her back or brushing against her arm. Each touch sent shivers through her that had nothing to do with fear. "Where's Emma in all this?" Maya asked suddenly. "If I'm not really a Blackwood—" "That's actually how we figured out the pattern," said Zoe. "Emma, her real name is Lin Wei, came to us 3 months ago. She had started having dreams, fragments of memories from before. A family in San Francisco, speaking Mandarin, the smell of her grandmother's dumplings." Maya's heart clenched. "Emma's not my sister either." "She was taken when she was 5, Alessandro said softly, his hand finding hers. "Old enough to remember more than you did, but young enough for the memory suppression to work. Mostly." "How did she find you?" Zoe pulled up a file on her laptop. "It started with nightmares." Emma would wake up crying, speaking words in Mandarin that she didn't even know she knew. She said the dreams felt more real than her actual memories. The screen showed a timeline of Emma's investigation. She hired a private investigator 6 months ago to look into her own family. When she got her DNA results back, secretly, different from the official test she'll take with you, she discovered she had living relatives in San Francisco. Maya gasped. "Living relatives?" "Her grandmother is still alive," Zoe continued, "still hoping for her granddaughter's return. Every Sunday for 17 years, she has made Lin Wei's favorite dumplings and waited by the window. The private investigator found her through missing person databases that cross-referenced DNA from relatives." "But why didn't she tell me?" "Because she wasn't sure who to trust," Alessandro explained, squeezing her hand. "She's been gathering evidence for months, trying to figure out if you were complicit or another victim. That's why she's been so hostile toward you lately. She was testing your reactions, seeing if you knew the truth." Alessandro's thumb stroked across Maya's knuckles as he continued. "Emma, Lynn, she's been our inside source. Every allergy shot appointment you've had, she's been documenting. Every strange conversation between Victoria and Charles, she's been recording with a device we gave her." Maya felt a wave of admiration for her sister's courage, mixed with guilt for not seeing the signs of her struggle. "The breakthrough came when she found a music box in Victoria's bedroom," Zoe explained. "When she opened it, a Chinese lullaby played, the same one from her dreams. She broke down completely and called the number we'd given her." "Is she here?" Maya asked. "She's maintaining her cover at the house," Zoe explained. "But she should be—" The warehouse door burst open, and Emma ran in, her face streaked with tears and terror. "They know!" she gasped. "Victoria found my recordings. They're coming for all of us." Maya ran to Emma and pulled her into a fierce hug. "I'm so sorry. I should have seen what you were going through." "I wanted to tell you so many times," Emma sobbed against Maya's shoulder. "But I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if you were one of them, or if you were like me." The memory suppression made everything so confusing. Some days I'd wake up and remember my grandmother's face so clearly, and other days I couldn't even remember why I was sad. Over Emma's head, Maya caught Alessandro watching her with an expression that made her breath catch, raw, intense emotion that went far beyond family concern. Their eyes held for a moment that felt like an eternity. "But why keep us?" Maya asked, still holding Emma close. "Why not just abandon us once we're older?" Alessandro's face darkened as he moved to the window. "Because we're insurance policies. Living proof of their crimes. They keep us close to monitor us and eliminate us if we become a threat. He showed Maya and Emma surveillance footage of other displaced children who had started asking questions. They all died in accidents within weeks of becoming suspicious. Emma pulled back from Maya's embrace, her face pale. "There's something else," she whispered. "Victoria made a phone call after she found my recordings. She said, 'Activate the Chen protocol.' I think that means they're going to kill you tonight, Maya. The DNA test was just a formality. They've already decided you're too dangerous to live." As Maya looked through files of missing children, one photograph made her blood run cold. It was Harold Blackwood, but much younger, standing next to a man she recognized. "That's Dr. Webb," she whispered. "The man who's been giving me allergy shots my entire life." Alessandro examined the photo. This was taken in 1985. Your grandfather wasn't just involved, he founded the entire operation. The Blackwood Family Trust isn't just money. It's a network of stolen children placed with wealthy families around the world. "But the inheritance," Maya started. "Was never real," Alessandro finished grimly. "The DNA test was to confirm your identity so they could eliminate you permanently. You were supposed to die in an accident after taking the test, making it look like you died before you could claim the money." Maya felt sick. "Victoria and Charles? Were your parents murderers?" Alessandro said flatly. "Charles pulled the trigger himself." The warehouse suddenly shook as black SUVs surrounded the building. Armed figures in tactical gear began rappelling through the skylights. "They found us!" Alessandro shouted, grabbing Maya's hand. "This way!" As they escaped through underground tunnels beneath the warehouse, Alessandro revealed the final, most shocking truth. "Maya, wait!" Alessandro pulled Maya into a dark alcove of the tunnel, his face shadowed but urgent. "I have to tell you the truth before we go any further." Maya's breath caught. "What now?" "I'm not your half-brother," he said quietly, his hands falling away from her face as if afraid to touch her. Maya froze, the words echoing in her mind. "You what?" Her voice cracked. "You lied to me about everything?" "No!" Alessandro's voice was raw. "Everything else was real. Your parents, the Blackwoods, the danger. I lied about being your brother because it was the only way to get close enough to protect you." Her heart pounded as anger surged through her. "You let me think I was wrong for feeling this way about you. You made me feel guilty for—" She stopped, unable to finish, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I know." His own eyes glistened in the dim light. "I hated myself every time I saw you flinch when I touched you, every time you looked away to hide what you felt. I wanted to tell you the truth 100 times, but if the Blackwoods suspected how I felt about you, they would have killed you sooner." Maya turned away, hugging herself, fighting the war inside her chest. "So you're not my brother?" "No," he said softly, stepping closer but not daring to touch her. "I am the man who swore to your father on his dying breath that I would protect you. And somewhere along the way, I fell in love with you." Maya's shoulders shook, torn between fury and relief. She finally turned to face him, her voice breaking. "When you told me you were my brother, I felt so guilty because I was attracted to you anyway. I thought there was something wrong with me." Alessandro's laugh was shaky with relief. "There's nothing wrong with you, Bella. You were responding to what your heart knew, even when your mind didn't. We're not family. We're two people who found each other in the middle of a nightmare. Do you know how I hated myself because I couldn't stop wanting you?" Alessandro's breath caught. In 2 strides, he closed the distance between them. "Then stop hating yourself," he whispered, "because I've been wanting you too." And when they finally kissed, it wasn't just passion. It was months of pain, longing, guilt, and relief exploding all at once. "Promise me," Maya whispered against his lips. Promise me that when this is over, we'll have a chance to figure out what this is between us. I promise, Alessandro said, sealing the vow with another soft kiss. Before Maya could respond, gunshots echoed through the tunnel, and they heard Emma screaming their names. The confrontation took place in the grand Blackwood mansion. Victoria and Charles were waiting, flanked by a dozen armed mercenaries. "Did you really think you could outsmart us?" Victoria asked, her cultured accent slipping to reveal a harsher Eastern European tone. "We've been playing this game for 40 years. Maya realized with a chill that even Victoria's identity was fake. "Who are you people really?" Charles laughed coldly. "We're survivors, darling. Former Soviet operatives who saw an opportunity when the Cold War ended. Wealthy Americans would pay anything for the perfect family, no questions asked." "The Blackwood fortune was built on stolen children," Victoria added. "You were just our most lucrative acquisition. Your real father's FBI investigation would have exposed our entire network." Alessandro, who had been captured and tied to a chair beside Maya, looked up defiantly. "The warehouse raid was a diversion. While you were chasing us, other FBI teams were hitting all your affiliated families simultaneously. It's over." Victoria smiled coldly and pulled out a gun. "Not quite." As Victoria aimed the weapon at Maya, Emma, Lin Wei, suddenly burst through the doors with Zoe and a dozen other displaced children, all armed. "We're taking back our lives," Lin announced, her voice strong despite the tears on her cheeks. Chaos erupted. Alessandro broke free from his restraints and tackled Charles, while Maya fought with Victoria for the gun. Lin fought alongside them with a ferocity born of years of suppressed rage and pain. "You stole everything from us," Lin screamed at Victoria as they grappled. "My grandmother waited for me every day. She made my favorite dumplings every Sunday for 17 years, hoping I'd come home." During the struggle, Victoria accidentally triggered a mechanism that began flooding the mansion's basement with water. An escape protocol designed to destroy evidence. "The whole house is rigged," Charles gasped as Alessandro held him down. "If we can't have our empire, no one can." Maya realized they had only minutes before the mansion collapsed entirely. "Everyone out!" she shouted. As they evacuated, Victoria made one final attempt to kill Maya, raising her gun with desperate fury. But Lin threw herself between them. The bullet struck her in the chest. "Lin!" Maya screamed, catching her sister as she fell. Lin's breath came in short gasps, blood frothing at her lips. "Tell my real family," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Tell my grandmother that I remember her dumplings. Tell her I remembered the lullaby she used to sing to me in Mandarin. Tell her I tried to come home." Maya sobbed, holding Lin close as the water rose around them. "You did come home," she cried. "You found your way back to yourself." "That's what matters." Lin smiled weakly. "Take care of Alessandro. He looks at you the way my real father used to look at my mother, like you're his whole world." With those final words, Lin Wei, who had been Emma Blackwood for most of her life, closed her eyes and found the peace that had been stolen from her so many years ago. The mansion shook as water surged into the basement, alarms blaring. Maya clutched Lin, sobbing, while Alessandro fought Charles across the slick marble floor. "Maya, the evidence!" Alessandro shouted, pointing to the burning safe where crucial files lay. "If we lose those, everything we've done will be for nothing." Before Maya could move, Victoria appeared in the doorway, gun raised, aiming straight for Alessandro. Maya's pulse roared in her ears. Save Alessandro or grab the evidence. In a split second, Maya kicked a loose candlestick across the floor, knocking Victoria off balance and sending the gun skittering away. She sprinted for the safe, the heat searing her hands as she ripped the files free just as the ceiling groaned. "Go!" Alessandro shouted, dragging Maya toward the exit. Outside, armed FBI agents stormed the grounds, having tracked the Blackwood network here. Victoria and Charles were tackled and handcuffed as the agents secured the perimeter. "You think this is over?" Victoria spat, her hair plastered to her face, her manicured hands bound. "We've been running this operation for 40 years. You'll never stop all of us." Maya stepped forward, soaked and trembling but defiant. "No," she said, clutching the evidence to her chest. "But tonight, we stopped you." Victoria's cold, calculating stare never wavered, but for the first time, Maya thought she saw a flicker of fear. 6 months later, Esperanza Rodriguez, stood in a hushed federal courtroom. The wood-paneled walls and tall windows made the room feel cathedral-like, a place where truth would finally be spoken aloud. Victoria and Charles sat at the defense table, their designer suits replaced by orange prison uniforms. Victoria's perfectly coiffed hair was gone, her face thinner, but her cold eyes just as sharp. Charles looked older, his arrogance faded to a dull, bitter resignation. The judge read the verdict. On counts of human trafficking, kidnapping, murder, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice, the defendants are sentenced to life imprisonment, without the possibility of parole. Gasps filled the courtroom, but Esperanza's chest only tightened. This was justice, but it didn't feel complete until she said what she came here to say. The judge allowed a victim impact statement, and Esperanza rose. Her heels clicked softly as she walked to the center of the courtroom. Every eye was on her, even Victoria's. "You called me Maya Blackwood for 22 years, she began, her voice steady. "You dressed me in your name, your money, your lies. You told me who I was supposed to be, polite, silent, grateful. But that girl is gone." She turned to face Victoria directly. "My name is Esperanza Rodriguez. I am the daughter of Diego and Isabella Rodriguez. I am the last thing you wanted me to be, a survivor." Victoria's lips tightened, but she said nothing. Esperanza's voice grew stronger, carrying through the courtroom. "You stole my childhood. You stole my sister's life. And you almost stole my future. But here's the truth, Victoria. You lost. Your empire is gone. Your network is gone. And your legacy will not be the Blackwood name. It will be this trial. Every news story, every headline will remind the world of what you did, and of every child you hurt." For the first time, Victoria's mask cracked. Her jaw tightened, but there was a flicker of fear in her gaze. The fear of being remembered not as powerful, but as defeated. Esperanza stepped closer, her voice soft now, but cutting like glass. "You thought you erased me. But I remember everything now. My mother's lullaby, my father's laugh, my sister's last words. And I will spend the rest of my life helping every stolen child remember who they are, too." She laid the thick evidence folder on the prosecution's table with a final thud. "This," she said, looking straight at Victoria, "is the real inheritance. The truth." When she sat back down, Alessandro took her hand, pride and love shining in his eyes. As the bailiffs led Victoria and Charles away in chains, Esperanza felt a weight lift off her chest. She wasn't the Blackwood heir. She was Esperanza, hope, rebirth, freedom. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed, reporters shouted, but Esperanza held Alessandro's hand tightly as they walked down the steps together. "What now?" Alessandro asked softly. Esperanza smiled faintly through tears. "Now we build something good from all this," she said. "The Rodriguez Foundation for Displaced Children opens next month. Lynn's name will be on the plaque." Alessandro kissed her forehead gently. She'd be proud. Esperanza looked up at the sky, imagining her sister smiling somewhere beyond. "She is proud," she whispered. "I can feel it." The Blackwood network had been dismantled, with over 200 stolen children reunited with their families worldwide. Maya had discovered her real parents' graves and learned that Diego Rodriguez had left behind evidence that helped convict dozens of co-conspirators. Isabella Rodriguez had been a social worker who specialized in international adoption. Ironic, given how her own daughter was stolen. After the trial, Maya and Alessandro walked hand in hand to a small cemetery outside the city. They placed flowers on Lin Wei's grave. She had been buried under her real name, next to her grandmother, who had died just 2 months before Lin was found. Maya often wondered if her grandmother had somehow known her granddaughter was finally coming home. "She would have been so proud of you," Alessandro said, wrapping his arms around Maya from behind as they stood before the headstone. "Lin saved you because she saw in you the strength she'd found in herself." Maya leaned back against Alessandro's chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. In the months since the mansion collapse, they had been inseparable. What had started as protection had bloomed into a love deeper than either of them had imagined possible. "What will you do now?" Alessandro asked, pressing a soft kiss to the top of her head. "I'm starting a foundation," Maya replied, turning in his arms to face him. "The Rodriguez Foundation for Displaced Children. The real inheritance my father left me wasn't money. It was the responsibility to help other families find their missing children." Alessandro smiled, the expression transforming his face from merely handsome to breathtakingly beautiful. "Your parents would be proud." "I know," Maya said, reaching up to trace the line of his jaw. "I finally remember them clearly now." Dr. Webb's memory suppression is wearing off completely. "I remember my real name, too. Esperanza Rodriguez. It means hope." "Esperanza," Alessandro repeated softly, the name rolling off his tongue like a caress. "It suits you perfectly." "Maybe," she said, standing on her tiptoes to kiss him softly. "But I think I'll keep Maya, too. It's part of who I became, and that journey led me to you." Alessandro's eyes grew serious as he gazed down at her. "Esperanza Maya Rodriguez," he said formally. "I've been carrying this around for 2 months, waiting for the right moment." Maya's breath caught as Alessandro dropped to one knee, pulling a simple but elegant ring from his pocket. "I know we've been through hell together," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I know we started with lies and deception and danger, but somewhere in all that darkness, we found something real and beautiful and worth fighting for. Will you marry me?" Maya's tears came fast and fierce as she nodded. "Yes," she whispered, then louder, "Yes, yes, absolutely yes!" As Alessandro slipped the ring onto her finger and stood to kiss her, Maya felt Lin's presence like a warm breeze around them. She had found her family, not the one that had stolen her, but the one she had chosen. Alessandro, the foundation they would build together, the children they would help find their way home. As they walked away from the cemetery hand in hand, Esperanza noticed a young girl across the street who looked lost and scared, being led away by a couple who kept looking over their shoulders nervously. She squeezed Alessandro's hand. "See that girl over there?" He followed her gaze and immediately understood. "Want to go introduce ourselves?" "Always," Esperanza smiled, her engagement ring catching the sunlight. Their work was just beginning, but now they had something even more powerful than justice driving them. They had love and the unshakable bond of two souls who had found each other against impossible odds. 2 years later, the Rodriguez Foundation had successfully reunited over 500 families. Esperanza had become a leading expert on child trafficking and identity theft, working with international law enforcement agencies. The foundation's name was etched into the glass doors of a modern building, a beacon of hope for families searching for lost children. Late one night, Esperanza sat at her desk reviewing case files when her phone rang. "Miss Rodriguez?" The voice on the other end was young, female, terrified. "My name is Sarah Chen. I just got my DNA results back, and I think I've been living a lie my whole life. Can you help me?" Esperanza felt a chill run down her spine. Across the room, Alessandro was already reaching for his jacket. Esperanza's voice softened, steady but urgent. "We're on our way," she said. She paused before hanging up. "And Sarah?" "You're not alone anymore." As they drove through the quiet streets toward their next case, Esperanza wondered how many other children were out there, living lies, waiting for someone to help them remember who they really were. The DNA tests that had once been weapons of deception had become tools of liberation. Esperanza stared out at the city lights, her heart heavy but resolute. The conspiracy was bigger than they had ever imagined, and their fight for justice was far from over. But now they had something the Blackwoods never had: the truth, and the courage to use it. Esperanza Rodriguez, once Maya Blackwood, vowed silently to every stolen child still out there, "You will be found, you will be remembered, and you will come home." What did you think of Maya, now Esperanza's, journey? Do you think the Rodriguez Foundation will uncover even more secrets? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you love this story, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next thrilling story. And share this video with someone who loves a good mystery. They'll thank you later. Every ending is just the start of another. See you soon.